You might think numerology's stupid. You might think astrology's stupid. You might think that's old world-fashioned stuff. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but the people who rule over us, it's very important to them. They use it every single day. And they tell us to give up our rights and liberties. And they tell us to submit to a surveillance state. And they tell us to stay in our homes and give up our jobs and our way of life. And look at what it does to us. Think about all the young children growing up right now with all the fear, the non-stop fear, constantly being blamed on false threats, whether it's a boogeyman in a cave or supposedly some deadly germs. And with regards to those deadly germs, please look into this fact. In 1968, coronavirus was coined. In 1968, you had the first case of HIV. You've heard how COVID and HIV have intertwined in a variety of headlines in the last 2 years. Also in 1968, the FDA approved fentanyl, one of the biggest problems in this country right now. I'm sure there's a bunch of people in earshot who know someone who's suffering from fentanyl and addiction. After 9/11, we got rid of the Taliban in Afghanistan. The Taliban did not want poppy plants and opium in their country. We killed the Taliban, and we brought back the poppy and opium production, and now the world is flooded with heroin and fentanyl. And Big Pharma is making the biggest profits they ever have. All over the streets, people are addicted to not only heroin, they're addicted to things like Percocet 30s. And Big Pharma is gloating about how much money, how many record profits there are right now. You guys think about this. The Bible, Genesis 11:9. Genesis 11:9, if you're not familiar, is where the Tower of Babel, the story ends. The Tower of Babel, the tower that divides the world, it ends in Genesis 11:9. The majority of the world writes the date, September 11th, 11/9. And stop me if you've heard this one before, but from the day that Obama took office to the day that Osama was killed was exactly 119 weeks. 119. And they said Osama was killed in Pakistan. Please look up the founder of Pakistan. He was killed on September 11th. Go figure. There's also something known as the 9/11 of Chile, where the CIA went in and overthrew their leader. That also happened on September 11th. That was our CIA. Speaking of the CIA, George Herbert Walker Bush, not to be confused with George Walker Bush, who was the president when 9/11 happened. He was the 11th director of the CIA. George H.W. Bush, the 11th director of the CIA on September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the day of the attack, he gave a speech about a new world order, a world freer of terrorism. And we all know what happened 11 years later. Again, New York, the 11th state, the buildings that look like an 11 that came down after Flight AA-11. 11 is the master number in numerology. You might think numerology is stupid. You might think astrology is stupid. You might think that's old world-fashioned stuff. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but the people who rule over us, it's very important to them. They use it every single day. And again, notice the number 119. If you don't know how numerology works, you just add a bigger number until you compress it to either a single digit or the number 11 or 22. 1 plus 1 plus 9 is 11. Before 9/11, one of the biggest tragedies in this nation's history was JFK. He was killed on 11/22. 11 is the master number, 22 is the master builder number. And here we are in 2022 trying to undo what this corrupt ball does to us every single day, using this occult knowledge to torment us. Now, if you've never heard this word before, please look it up. Gematria. Gematria. The word gematria is a biblical practice. It is the practice of coding numbers into words. And the reason you must know this practice is because it reveals what's really being done. Again, I just told you that from when Obama took office to when Osama was killed was exactly a span of 119 weeks. And again, he was killed in Pakistan, he was killed in Pakistan, Osama, so they tell us. But again, the founder of Pakistan was also killed on September 11th. Right now in Pakistan, they are underwater. And in astrological terms, people might blame Poseidon for the current flooding of Pakistan. The old world would say, oh, that's Poseidon that's done that. Well, are you aware that on the World Trade Center was the trident of Poseidon? You can go down to the museum right now and they have an exhibit called Trident Strong. You guys, the trident is the spear of Poseidon. In Gematria, Poseidon equals 119. Osama bin Laden was killed in Operation Neptune Spear. Operation Neptune Spear. Neptune is Poseidon in astrology. You guys, numerology and astrology are very important to the people who govern over us. It's old world occult knowledge that's always been shared and held by the ruling elite. Nothing has changed from the time of Babylon to right now. This is New Babylon. And again, if you learn this knowledge, you will see through what's going on every single day. That is not an exaggeration. Just as it's so current, you guys, I want you to think about this one too. We just heard about the death of Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth just died exactly 911 days after the pandemic was declared. The pandemic was declared March 11th, 2020. She died September 8th, 911 days later. Of course, Corona means crown. She wore the crown. Now she's been replaced by her son, King Charles. If you got a question for us, come talk to us, sir. You don't got to yell at us and walk by. We're happy to answer your questions. Yeah, it takes courage to come confront somebody face to face instead of scream at them from a mile away. But anyhow, you guys, here's something I really want you to look into. I want you to understand why there were 2 towers that became 0, that became 1. It's the same reason that right before coronavirus, the same people who are now profiting from the pandemic had something called Event 201. If you don't know about this, please look it up. You all got your smartphones in your pocket. Type in Event 201. You will see it took place October 18th, 2019. It was a simulation of a coronavirus pandemic put on the exact same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. That's a major coincidence. And some of us use that word way too much to dismiss what's really going on, like these ladies walking by looking and laughing.
Took place in your city.
Anyhow, Event 201 was the coronavirus simulation. Again, Queen Elizabeth just died on September 8th. You might recall earlier this year, Charles had COVID, and then they said the Queen caught COVID shortly after. Well, from the day that the Queen caught COVID to the day that she died was exactly 201 days later. And again, exactly 911 days after the pandemic was declared. On 9/11, 2 towers became 0 before they became 1. I'll tell you something else, another big 201 in history, because it's another hot topic right now. 5 years before the World Trade Center was opened on April 4th, 1973, there was a major tragedy in this nation. April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And exactly 201 days later, this nation had its first gun control laws.
Love you, brother.
This is going on all throughout history, you guys, these same patterns. Creating major tragedies and then taking away our rights and liberties. And blaming it on boogeymen, Nazis, people who aren't really responsible for the crimes. Again, you guys, there's that phrase in the Bible, my people suffer for lack of knowledge. I thank all the people who walk by and then stop to listen for a moment, but those people have been few and far between. For all of you guys who just walk by as we talk about the truth of the biggest lie that's resulted in the deaths of millions of people, understand you are part of the problem. All of you guys who just believe what the authority tells you day after day, I want you to think about that word believe. Spell it out. Spell out the word believe. How do we spell it? It has a bizarre spelling. B-E-L-I-E us are being a part of the lie? How many of us don't care about the lie? You guys, this is why we continue to be tormented and harassed by the ruling class psychopaths who govern over us. I'm going to pass the microphone to my friend Arthur. Another great researcher in this community who wants to make this world a better place, is right here from New York. We need the rest of New York to become like homegrown Arthur right here. Listen to this man speak. He's brilliant.
Hello everybody, my name is Arthur. I'm from the Bronx. You see my skin color? A lot of you say, I'm not going to listen to that guy because he's not the same.
You might think numerology's stupid. You might think astrology's stupid. You might think that's old world fashioned stuff. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but the people who rule over us, it's very important to them. They use it every single day.